Hi, and welcome back to the GoodVibes Podcast. I'm Dan. Today we're going to be talking about longevity and peak performance. What separates elite athletes from the rest isn't just talent or genetics, it's the ability to sustain peak performance over the long run. Today, we're talking with ultra-cycling legend Jonas Bohr, a guy who's outpacing younger athletes, breaking records, and proving that age is no limitation. We're diving deep into the mental and physical blueprint that fuels endurance, longevity, and peak performance. Jonas, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. What an intro.
Hey, let's start with this. When people think of endurance, they think of training and physical grit. But how much of it's actually mental?
I think absolutely the major part of endurance capabilities is mental and the mind's ability to cope with the tough sessions and long bouts and endurance rides, etc. And whatever sport you do. And of course, you need the training. You need lots of training, and you need good fueling, etc. But if you don't got a mind, you don't gonna survive in the long run. It's absolutely a lot of mental.
So tell me, have you ever had a moment where your body wanted to quit, but you had to use your mind to override it?
Yeah, sure, it happens. As a long distance cyclist, it's quite. It happens all the time. Not all the time, of course, but I mean, sports should be fun, and most of the rides are enjoyable, even in my training rides. But for sure, when I'm doing like a record break session or I go as hard as I can, it hurts. It hurts a lot, and for sure there are a number of times that you just wanna. Sometimes you hope you get a puncture on the wheel or something. that sort of stuff can be over, but what you learn when you ride in is that most often it's kind of a short period that it hurts very much, and a lot of this is also mental, but it also could be quite physical. But if you can endure this and try to sort of like embrace this pain and with not some kind of feeling that I'm gonna survive this and I'm gonna come out stronger. And if you have done that a number of times, it gets sort of like a little bit easier the next time this sensation happens in your body, because of course it's totally grueling sometimes.
That's interesting. What do you think it is that separates the athletes who push through that wall from those who give in?
I think it's experience to some extent, because you have, at least I have felt this, you need to adapt and you need to learn this this kind of sensation in your body and try to not see it as a permanent. It's you gotta come over it, and as I said, try to embrace this pain in some weird kind of way, because it's a fantastic feeling when you, even in the session, like 30 minutes after a sensation like this, it can be fantastic again, and you can feel strong again. So it's a lot of mental aspects around this.
Now, you mentioned experience. You're competing against guys decades younger than you. What's the biggest advantage experience gives you over them?
Well, I would say it's just, I mean, the experience of life, I guess. When I was young, I did other sports. I always loved sports. I did a lot of racket sports, and I played a game called Frisbee Ultimate on a high level for competing, and a lot of years when I was like in my 20s. So I was strong physically, but I was not weak mentally. But for sure, I didn't have the kind of toughness that I've learned to adapt during the years now since I started cycling. I started cycling very late. I was in my mid-40s when I started. So I'm a late bloomer in this kind of events, but I think the older I have gone in my when I look in my passport, it's in some kind of way that I can compensate what I lack in maybe physical abilities. I can compensate with my mind.
So do you think that most young athletes train too hard instead of training smart?
for sure, a lot of athletes train too hard. They absolutely do, because you need to find this balance between hard sessions and overreaching and their recovery time, and to get the right fuels in and recovery time. And the older you get, of course, you need more recovery. That's just the law of physics. But young athletes, they tend maybe to be a little bit too hard sometimes, and so it's a thin line. They need a lot of training to reach the highest level, but absolutely a lot of them train far too hard, I would say.
Yeah, a lot of athletes talk about energy as if it's just, fueling workouts, but you seem to have this deep understanding of sustained energy production. What's the real secret to having endurance that doesn't fade?
I think an very solid aerobic base is an absolutely must here to build this not fading energy. Because if you like live your life in the sports on max, and you go very hard, you consume a lot of carbohydrates, etc. You have a high peak power, but the endurance will fade away very fast. And I think a lot of athletes are extremely well trained on this high intensity level, but they maybe lack a bit of solid base building for the aerobic zones. And I think you need to train a lot of low intensity, what they call zone 2 training, to build this base, because then you're so much, you can take the stress on your body so much better. Your immune system gets better. You will not get sick, etc. A lot of high performance athletes they experience illness, they get cold, flu, etc. And I think a lot of them lack a little bit of this aerobic base building. And when you have a strong fundamental aerobic base, you can add this high intensity level and this high zone training. But the general rule for if you take in like runners, marathon runners, cyclists, cross skiing, etc., it's maybe train 80-20 or even 90-10. So 85% in the zone 2 area and like 15% in the high zones area for shorter intervals, etc. You need to train high as well, because you need to adapt a good engine, the VO2 maximum, the capacity for oxygen uptake. But I think definitely if you train a lot in the base, the zone 2 base, you basically consume fat as your fuel, and you can go for days with just consuming fat. So if you just get the fluid in, you could if you have a very, very strong aerobic capacity, your endurance are very, very long lasting.
Yeah, you've been training for decades. How have you had to change your training style to keep your energy levels high?
Well, in cycling, I've been training maybe like almost 15 years now, and I learned quite early in my cycling days. I read a book about this, the base building, the zone 2 training, etc. And I follow this quite thoroughly since I started, and it has worked out fantastic for me. But I think most experts agree today on that you need to have this very solid base, and then you add the high zone intensity training.
So what would you say is one mistake endurance athletes make that crushes their energy levels?
It's probably a combination of maybe not the right fueling strategy, and then maybe they have not been fully recovered, and they have maybe gone too hard too early in the session, so they sort of like bust up, and it's a combination, of course, but and maybe some mental aspects as well. But because if you begin too hard too fast, it's also it's so tough on the brain. So a lot of them maybe just don't have the strength to pull through in the mind as well.
You mentioned fueling. Let's talk about that. What's your core philosophy when it comes to nutrition for endurance?
To have a variety of in Sweden we call it the plate model. So you consume the right amount of fat, proteins, and carbs. And I think a lot of athletes, they just concentrate on the carbs. You also need healthy fats. You need a lot of protein for sure. So the fueling strategy is to have a wide variety of everything from meat to eggs to vegetables, and try to eat fresh food, as little processed food as possible. I think that's a big no-no in general to have processed food, processed food that really makes people sick. So healthy food, as fresh as possible, and then of course fueling on the rides as well with and there you have to adapt maybe mostly a lot of carbs on the ride, because you need that for the engine to produce this. If you go slow, you can go on just water. You can burn fat, but if you go hard, you need carbs as well.
You said you've been cycling for like the last 15 years. Talk to me a little bit. How's your approach to nutrition changed over time?
I think it has changed to some extent. The whole family of mine. I have a wife and 3 daughters. Only one of them is living home right now, but we cook a lot of food and we eat healthy, and our interest for healthy food has increased during the years, and we can clearly see also there's a connection between a healthy immune system and good food intake and good nutrition. But I think you learn from your life, and the research is very clear. You need a wide base of ingredients and natural healthy stuff. And then of course I've learned a lot about healthy supplements, etc. So, and that has been a game changer, of course, for me, because I when I was in my mid-40s, I started this journey with cycling. I saw that if I will try to compete with guys that could be my sons, I have to stop aging as much as possible. Yeah. So I learned a lot about that aspect as well, and try to fill my body with natural ingredients, nutraceuticals, etc., that could speed up my recovery, that could get my mitochondrial function to be stronger, more energy production, etc. So that's a big part of it, of course.
Absolutely. I noticed your super sharp bike suit there says CellYea. Talk to me a little bit about how CellYea fits into your fueling strategy.
Yeah, it's a game changer. CellYea provides a lot of natural ingredients packed with function for stronger physical and both mental and physical aspects. If I just take my rides when I go hard, I always go with the CellYea stick pack, because it's filled with like 15 to 20 ingredients, everything from mental aspects to physical aspects, better blood flow, better energy, a lot of supplements. There's a lot of ingredients in CellYea that help to boost the mental mind, like rhodiola, like guarana, like ginseng, etc. And also there's for increased blood flow, like citrulline and amino acid. Because when you do endurance sports, you need to maximize your blood flow to get oxygen to your muscles. And increased nitric oxide is a big thing, and that a compound like L-citrulline helps with that. And also there's a lot of electrolytes in CellYea as well. So it's packed with almost everything that the research has proven to help for short and long and endurance rides, and just you get a very strong feeling, both mentally and physical. But also CellYea, the daily capsule we have, filled with nutraceuticals that speed up my recovery, my mitochondrial function, and my basic immune system seems to be stronger as well.
We know that elite performance doesn't happen by accident. It's built through daily routine. So talk to me a little bit about what your morning blueprint looks like. How do you start your day?
Well, I'm a little bit older. I have no strategy that I sort of like follow from every day to day, because I need to be inspired. I need to go by intuition, but I try to work in a large scheme of healthy regions. But in the morning, what I do, I drink coffee. Sometimes I go fasting before lunch. Sometimes I'm not. I'm a big believer of like this 16-8 strategy or something. You eat maybe after lunch, and then you eat dinner, and then you have a window of 16 hours not eating to save your organs, etc., and to spare them and get a good time for recovery. I think the research is very clear that eating more seldom is better for our bodies. At the same time, if you do a lot of training, you need you need fuel. So if I'm in a block of heavy training, I for sure eat a good breakfast of both healthy carbs, fats, and proteins. But I try to sort of like vary my intake in different, maybe not blocks, but not to do the same thing every week or every month, because I'm a big believer in change, so you don't sort of like stagnate.
Disrupting patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big believer of that. Both when it comes to training and regimes and fueling strategy. So
how do you program in your recovery and longevity? As far as that's concerned, if you don't have morning or a lot of folks will have the morning routine to get going, and then they'll have a nighttime routine to sort of establish their recovery. And how do you plan around that?
What I try to do is have a grip on my protein intake. So I try to have especially now I started to train a little bit more in the gym to build my muscles up for upcoming record break attempts. So I try to fill up with some extra protein, apart from good healthy food like eggs and steaks and chicken and that kind of thing. Take some protein extra, and but in the nighttime, try to settle down and take it more easy the last couple of hours. Not train too late in the evening, because the sleep can be a bit disrupted then if you go too hard too late. So I'm not try. I have this Aura ring. A lot of people use this, and you can manage your sleep patterns, your recovery times, etc. You can have lots of information from a tool like this, but it's also important that you don't get slave under it. So you try to read in too much or get stressed of it. So I try to take it a little bit, not too serious.
Well, let's talk about resilience. What was the darkest moment in your career?
Oh, probably in one or two of my accidents. I had a couple of very, very rough accidents. Now the years keep going. But 2015 and 16, I experienced 3 very, very severe crashes, and I broke most of my bones. Broke my hip, and I broke 12 all ribs here. I broke collarbones and got a punctured lung. So it was a terrible accident. So I basically crashed with my road bike into a mountain wall in Mallorca during a race. And it was very hard conditions, rainy, and was slippery as hell up in the mountains. So I lie there just beneath the rock, and I felt that everything was broken. And it was like 5 degrees Celsius. That's super cold. I don't know if Fahrenheit, but But this was terrible, and I had to be there for like 40 minutes before the ambulance came, and my body temperature was down to very, very low degrees. So that was tough. That was acute, but it was also tough mentally those weeks in hospital, because this was the second year in a row in the same competition in Mallorca that I had a severe crash. So for 2 days in a row, I was hospitalized in intensive care in Mallorca for 2 years in a row. So my wife was not that happy.
I can imagine. What did this experience teach you about yourself?
It teaches me a lot, for sure. It teaches me that the body is fantastic. The recovery time I had from all of the injuries, it was like, I hardly couldn't believe it, how fast I recovered. It didn't took 2 months before I was on the road again. And just 3 months after this, broken everybody, I competed in the nationals, in the masters in cycling. And I did good as well. So it teaches me that the human body is a fantastic machine. It can really recover quickly if you believe in it as well. But of course, there were some dark moments involved in this, especially in the beginning, because as you understand, as everyone has broken a lot of things, they know it can hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Especially ribs. If you have every rib broken and you lie and you start to laugh, it's...
Oh, man. Well, let's bounce to a brighter note. And what's been your biggest victory? What's the thing that's meant the most?
It could be odd things. It could be a training ride when you have this runner's high feeling and you just, wow, I love this life, or you get sort of like the adrenaline pushes through, and so like this nothing, but you're just happy. But if we're talking about achievement, etc., and one special thing for me was last summer, I had set sight on doing a 200-mile ride solo on my time trial bike. So my ambition was to break the world record for 200 miles on an open road. So I went on a loop like 50 kilometers. That's around 30 miles or something, I guess. But I went 6 laps on this loop, and this was in June last summer in Sweden. And usually we have very good weather in Sweden in the summer, but it was the worst day in the whole summer. So it was like super cold, and it was flooding down with heavy rain almost the whole day. And I couldn't change the day because I had all this timekeepers, officials, and everything was set up for this record attempt. So I couldn't change the day. And it was like 50 millimeters of rain.
Oh,
it's just that. So, and to go 200 miles in a super cold weather, like just pouring down, not pouring, it's just flowing down. So that was tough, but I had the best day in my life for my body, and maybe in some odd way, the cold temperature helped me not to heat over, but helped me to stay exactly flat line. So I could produce an absolutely steady power for 7 hours and 20 minutes without fading away. And I did it in like 135 in heartbeat, so like flat line. So when you're talking about long distance events, cyclists talk about durability, to go on a high level for long. So, and when I look at my Garmin, my heart rate and my power output, it was absolutely steady, 281 watts for 7 hours and 20 minutes. And I did this 200-mile ride in almost like, I think it was in miles, 27.9 miles per hour. I mean, so 44 kilometers per hour.
That's so crazy, Jonas.
And that was an incredible feeling when I was 57 at the time. I'm 58 now. But to do this when I'm 57 in the absolutely worst condition there is. So I broke the world record with 1 hour in my age group.
Oh, wow.
So that was probably the best feeling I ever had to surpass these extreme conditions and do it in the best possible outcome for me.
That's a fantastic story. Thanks for sharing that with us. It makes me think of that big exclamation mark there on your chest, colorful and proud and so ready to go. Let's talk a little bit about CellYea. How did this formula come to life for you?
Yeah, it's a fantastic story because when I started in Sweden in 2015, 16, after the terrible crashes I told you about, I've been on this supplement regime for a couple of years, and I really noticed that I recovered very fast, and this seems to help me. So we came up with this idea to start a brand combining a lot of active ingredients in Sweden. So I did it with a partner in Sweden, and we had some success of it. And then the years went by. I had this as a side hobby, apart from my business in the finance industry and apart from the cycling, etc. But then I came to talk with an expert in the States about this brand that we have built in Sweden, and we share the same ideas. We share for like the mental aspects of business. We share the moral aspects of business, and we basically came up with the idea to take this another step forward and start a brand in the States with experience that we both learned from our different parts of the world. So we created CellYea as a multifunctional supplement for creating better energy, sustained energy, long healthy ingredients for both mental and physical performance. So that was the story about CellYea, how it came to life.
That's what makes CellYea specifically unique in the way it supports endurance and recovery. What about its formula there?
Yeah, the formula is unique. It's absolutely a killer. I mean, if you go to the gym, you can see there you can buy these products to boost your energy or pre-workout formulas, etc. There's tons of them. But what we have done with CellYea is not just to have the instant impact that you can get from caffeine, etc. We have caffeine in CellYea as well to create this, because caffeine really helps, especially when you're doing hard sessions. But you also need compounds, and you need ingredients that don't make you crash after like 30 minutes or something. And CellYea is packed with natural ingredients that just give you sustained long energy, and it also helps your mental clearance, and you get so like you like to go hard if you take this product, and that's maybe the most rewarding thing when I take it, because I've done a number of rides. I start the first 1-2 hours without, and then I take a CellYea stick pack in my second water bottle or something, and then the last 2 hours home, I'm always flying. I can really feel the difference between going out and going back. And normally it's the reverse, because you're struggling on the way home. So this is an extreme good proof for me that I can really feel it's doing something.
That's awesome. How do you see CellYea evolving in the future?
I think the ambition is to make it available for a wider audience, not just the sports athlete, because it helps you in the everyday life as well a lot. I mean, you get sustained energy flow all day and without this spike. So basically, most people would benefit a lot from taking these ingredients, both short term and long term. But for sure, as an athlete, everything is very measurable. I can measure my performance extremely good on the bike. I can see how fast I go, can see how many watts I produce, etc. And therefore, it's very rewarding to see that it really makes a difference. So for sure, athletes would benefit a lot from it. But in everyday life as well. A lot of clients just think give them extra energy. It could be to stand out with their kids or to cope with them or go shopping or cook food or whatever, have tough jobs. So for a lot of aspects in life.
Nice. Jonas, if there's one lesson you want people to take away from today's conversation, what would it be?
I think to believe in that you have much more capacity than maybe you think. It's not about breaking records. It's about taking a step forward in your everyday life, just one step at a time. And I often think about it when I'm a little bit tired or I have no energy for, let's say I hesitate to go out on a training ride. It's bad weather, it's raining or whatever it is. There's so many times I sit down and think like, well, maybe today I just won't do it. I have no feel for it. But then sort of like something says to me that, okay, I know how I'm going to feel afterwards. Every time it's so incredibly rewarding, especially when it's tough out there. So I think you need this kind of resistance in your life. In Latin, they call it hormesis. So you need to have resistance, because if everything is just going great and okay, you will have no resistance. We people tend to progress and we tend to flourish when we meet resistance and we overcome these things. So resistance is a very big part of life and should be. It should not be too easy, because if it was easy, everyone would do it, and everyone would be capable. So that's a lesson I've learned, that life should not be too easy, because you need resistance, and when you overcome this, you get stronger out on the other side. Basically, what doesn't kill you makes it stronger. Well, I told you about my accident. It nearly killed me, but it didn't. So I became stronger.
So what's next for you? More races, more records, something new?
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. I've set sight on this to go inside a velodrome, the track. So in Sweden, we have no track. A velodrome, a full-length velodrome, is 250 meters. And that's a classic record in cycling called the hour record. And you just measure how long can you go in 1 hour in a velodrome in 250-meter laps. And so you basically go round and around as fast as you can for 1 hour. Doesn't sound that funny, maybe. And it's really, really tough, because when you go in a velodrome, the corners are banked a bit steep. So like they're 40 degrees in the banks. And so you get almost like a G-force in the corners.
Oh, yeah.
And one lap, if you go 50 kilometers an hour, like over 30 miles per hour, one lap takes 18 seconds. And most of the time you're actually in this corner. So you feel like you're in a washing machine. So you just go around. So it's very tough here. And I have no experience in this. I only been in the velodrome like 4 times. But now I bought this super cool and also very expensive track bike. So on the track bike, you don't have any brakes, you don't have any gears. It's a fixed gear, so you have to pedal all the time. So you can't stop pedaling and freewheeling. So I'm gonna try to break two records on the track. One world record the next year, because I'm turning 60 next year, and I will try to break the official hour record for men. And this year, I'm gonna try to break the 100 kilometers record, 100K. 100 kilometers, and that will be a session a bit over 2 hours, I think. So that's 2 big goals for me. So I've adopted some other kind of training routines for this now, a lot more time in the gym than I've done before, and I will try to up my game one more notch. And so it's a very exciting year for me. So I have my bike here with me in Thailand now. So I go out. It's wonderful to bike here in Thailand. It's really, really warm, but the roads are so beautiful out on the countryside, almost no traffic. It could be very messy as well, but a lot of the roads are just amazing. So it's a fantastic place to be in.
Jonas, this has been an incredible deep dive, and thank you so much for the conversation. We appreciate getting to find out what it really takes to build endurance, resilience, and a long-lasting career. Folks, if you got anything from this episode, please share it, tag us, and let us know your biggest takeaway. Jonas, thank you again so much, and go visit Jonas at CellYea.com and stay after his journey to break records all over the world. Thank you again, Jonas, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Danny. It was my pleasure. See you.